Hello, welcome to OpenRose, a free and open source requirements management application. I am at github.com/openrose. Here we can see that we have two releases available. The one that we have installed in the cloud environment, which is Azure Cloud, is the version 0.1.2-243. Now that we have the new version available, we are ready to do the deployment in our cloud environment. To do the deployment, we will have to connect to our cloud shell. What I mean is we have to go and open up in Azure Cloud the cloud shell. Once we are in the cloud shell, then we can work with it to do the download of the latest version and do the web deployment of the same. Let me show you some simple command that I'm going to use today. So we have to first log into Azure portal, go to the cloud shell, and then run this command that will list all the organizations that or the subscriptions that I have access to. Basically, it lists all my accounts there. And then I'm going to connect to a specific subscription, which is nothing but a subscription ID. Once I connect using AZ account set subscription and providing the subscription ID, I will be connected to that particular subscription. Please make sure that you connect to the subscription where you have done the deployment of OpenRose. After that, you can double check whether you are connected to the correct subscription by running the command az account show --output table just to see the table format. After that, you can download the package. So we have the web URL for the package, which is WinX86 OpenRose API and the version number. I'm deploying x86 architecture because I'm trying to use minimal resources in my Azure subscription. So my environment, which is the app services environment, does not have the possibility to do the deployment of x64 version because I'm just using a very simple basic free app services plan. So that's why I'm just downloading the x86 packages for the API as well as the web UI in my home locations respectively. After that, I will stop both my services, the OpenRose API and OpenRose web UI services will be stopped. These services in my case are here. So you can see the web UI app service and then the OpenRose API app service. These are two separate app services on which I have done the deployment of OpenRose. Then after doing that, which is after stopping those services, let's do the web deployment. So it's a simple command, az web app deploy source is a zip file, so it's config zip. Resource group is OpenRose for me. The first one that I'm doing the deployment for is OpenRose API, and as you remember, we have stored it in my home location, and from there I'm picking it up and doing the deployment. Once the API deployment is done, let's go and do the deployment of the web UI with a similar command, but here we're going to use OpenRose web UI as my app service within my resource group, and then I'm going to pick up the web UI zip file with a specific version there. Once these two deployments are done, and because we are using environment variable to point to the API location from within the web UI, and also connection string environment variable to connect to SQL Server from the API, we don't have to do any configuration changes. All our configurations are actually set via environment variables, and I can show that to you here. So if I go to web UI, and then go to environment variables. Here is my API base URL, which is nothing but the URL pointing to my API instance. And then if I go back to my home and API, this is where in the environment variable, you will see the connection string. It's the items contacts, which is the name of my connection string. And then here I will have the value stored for my SQL server. That's nothing but a Azure SQL server sitting in the cloud itself. So all my components are in the cloud. Because I'm using environment variable for those deployments, I don't have to do anything more than the web deployment that I've done. The only thing left now is to start the web application. Let's first start the API because this would require certain steps to be executed on SQL Server. When we are upgrading from the previous version to the latest version, if that specific version has any schema changes, then it will apply those schema changes at startup. We may change this architecture in the future, but for now, when you start the API application, it connects to the database and then checks if any schema changes are required to be applied, and it will do those changes or apply those schema changes to your database using Entity Framework Core. And after doing the API, i.e. after restarting the API, let's also restart the web UI. I would give maybe a couple of seconds or perhaps a minute or two to let the API perform any upgrade to the database schema if required, and then start the web UI. You can anyway start the web UI, but I would rather wait for 1 or 2 minutes for the API to successfully do the database migrations and apply those schema changes. Once the web UI is up and running, then you can go to your web UI portal. Just click on the browse here. I have already started my application, so let me just switch back to OpenRose in the cloud. This is where I have my sample deployment in the cloud, and then as you can see that the version here has been upgraded from 0.1.0.0 to 0.1.2.0. In the future, we will try and make sure that this version number matches the actual version number of the release or the tag that we have applied in our GitHub environment. Okay, so the upgrade is very simple. It's just 2-3 steps. The first step is to connect to the correct subscription. The second step is to download the packages that are required to be deployed. Third step would be stop the app service for API and web UI. Fourth step will be do the web deployment of API and web UI for OpenRose. And the fifth step would be to restart the OpenRose API as well as OpenRose web UI. Once that is done, you are fully upgraded to version 0.1.2-243 in the cloud. Hope you like this video. Hope you will use OpenRose in different environments, especially the cloud environment. Please share about OpenRose to others who can take benefit of this free and open source application. We thank you for your time today. Have a great day and bye for now.